Hi guys, this is a do-over of the 12 principles of recall that I did a week ago. I was at a Starbucks and there was a lot of background noise. So by popular demand, I am redoing it. And this time I am at a more quiet place, and I hope the sounds will come out okay. Okay, we're gonna do the 12 principle of recalls. And those principles will help you memorize about 16 different subjects for the bar exam. I know it helps me a lot to retain a large volume of information, and it's important that um, there's a system that you use that you go by to help you stay on top of those materials. Okay, without any further ado, we're going to go over each one of them. The first principle of recall is to create a map. MAP. MAP stands for Memory Action Plan. Have a memory action plan. And later on after this video, I'm going to actually do an actual subject that can demonstrate and show you basically how I go about um, follow this precepts of principle. Okay, so the first principle of recall is to create a memory action plan. It's important that you have an action plan because it will help you to remember um, when you move from one topics or one issues to the next. It's the same way if you're going somewhere you don't know, you follow a GPS, you follow a map, and it gives you direction from every single step of the way. If you create a memory action plan, it will do the same thing. It will give you directions every single step in your study, and you would know um, what issues come next automatically, instantly, because of, of the work that you put um, beforehand by creating a memory action plan, a map, a memory action plan. The second principle of recall is to activate your imagination. Activate your the second principle is activate your imagination. It's important to bring your imagination in the front line because, as Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than information. We use our imagination when we were little kids, but as we becoming adults, we left our imagination in the closet. So for this purpose, it's important that you bring your imagination, your creative imagination in the front line. It is a principle of recall. So second principle of recall, activate your your imaginations. The third principle of recall is what I call um, Pictionaries, and I have an acronym TIP, TIP, turn words into picture. TIP, T for turn, I into P, pictures. Turn words into pictures. We remember pictures more than we remember words. So that's why it's so important that you turn words into pictures. So turn those issues into pictures. This will help you tremendously in remembering those issues when you need them and um, without any delay, those issues will pop up. That's your fourth principle of recall, turn words into pictures. The fifth principle of recall is use the law of primary and recency to your advantage. Use the law of primary and recency to your advantage. Especially when it comes to doing MBEs, this principle is very important. If you get the questions wrong as you're doing an MBE, take a pause, take a break, walk away even for 60 seconds, even for 30 seconds, walk away from that questions. Uh, and as you coming back, you read that questions again. What you did is you create what you remember, what we heard first, we remember, and what we heard last, we remember, and what in between it sometimes go in the pile. But according to the law of primary and recency, if you get a questions wrong, when you walked away from it, that would be the last thing you did from that questions, and you walked away from it remembering that questions. Think about it, and think about it specifically in a way that why you get it wrong and what you should have done or what you should have thought about to get it right. So, and when you come back again in the 30 seconds later or 60 seconds later, you read that questions again, I guarantee you, you will never get that questions wrong again. You don't have to do a whole lot of work. A simple gesture, if you will, of walking away from your questions and walk back to it will further embedded it into your brain. So that's why this is our fifth principle of recall, the law of primary and recency. And you create both at the same time because by recency is the last thing you heard. So the last thing you did was you got this question wrong. You walked away from it. And when you walk back again, the first thing you will do is read that questions again. That's your primary. So that's the law of primary and recency. You did both of them at the same time. This the sixth principle of recalls is pattern. It's important that you recognize patterns to help you organize those materials. And there are patterns in all over the bar exams. There are 16 different subjects. You will recognize certain patterns and so on and so forth. One example I can give you is if you're doing wills and you study in the validity of a will, one of the issues are uh, one of the issues on the validity of the will is the uh, forwarding the factum and forwarding the endorsement. Forwarding the factum and forwarding the endorsement. Forwarding the factum will invalidate a will totally. Forwarding the endorsement will partially invalidate the will. Well, the same concept arises in a lot of different subjects, and more specifically in property. And in property, in studying the validity of a deed, one of the things that will make a deed invalid also is fraud in the factum or fraud in the endorsement. So you see the patterns there. So when you're studying if fraud in the factum, and a lot of students have a lot of problem remembering fraud in the factum and fraud in the endorsement and how they apply. But when you know the importance of it, that the very same issues apply not only in wills, but it's also applied in property, in the concept of a validations of a deed. So that makes your brain now understand the importance of these issues, and it will store it in a permanent place where you will remember it. So patterns recognize where some issues arise from different subject matter. Seven is to use emotional words. Use emotional words um, to help you remember things, to help you remember certain issues. So embellish those stories with with emotion, and that will help your uh, memorization um, even better. So number eight is use the law of associations. Associate familiar with the unfamiliar, things you already know. Um, and associate them with certain issues that you may have difficulty remember, and that will again help your memory. So the eighth principle of recall is using the law of associations. The ninth principle of recall is to remember to be present, be in the now. And from a MBE standpoint, for example, if you get a questions wrong 2 or 3 times, just ask yourself the first time you got it wrong, or even the second time, if you were there. Sometimes we checked out, the brain checked out, even though we are reading, but we are not present. We are not actually there. And because of that, we are not calculate those informations. But if you force yourself to be present and be there, actually, not just physically, but in spirit, when you read that questions, you will remember it. You will not get that questions wrong again. So I know for me, I've seen it over and over. Sometimes I got the questions wrong 2 or 3 times, and then I said, I didn't even remember when I got it wrong the first time. I wasn't there. I wasn't present. And the same thing will happen to you, because our brain has 80 to 100 billion cells. It's an intricate machine of network. And so it gets busy. It can go out on you without asking for your permission. But you can take control of your brain by making an effort to be present, especially when you get the questions wrong. Okay? So the ninth, or the that was our ninth principle of recalls, is being present. The 10th principle of recall is to do some sort of physical or mental, or maybe both, work out before you start studying. Before you start, this is studying for the bar exam is a very complicated endeavor. And so it's important that you engage in some sort of workout, some sort of routine that can bring your, not only your physical self, but your emotions and your entire body need to be in good shape. So some sort of physical workout or mental workout would help you. And number 11 is eat brain food. Okay, eat your protein, your vegetables, and so on and so forth. You can Google it. You'll see what kind of food that's categorized as brain food. So it's important that you eat well so that you can sustain yourself. That's your 11th principle of recalls. Eating properly, believe it or not, will help you to retain those certain informations. Okay, and last and not the least necessarily in those 12 principles of recalls is meditative study. Okay, when you study, try to study in a meditative mode, in the alpha mode, if you will. You will remember a whole lot more in that setting of study. Okay, so this was the 12 principle of recalls. I did them before. I redo it because of some complications with the setting, specifically some noise that were in the background. I hope this is helpful. Just sign up for this channel. I will now start putting some other video out in short segment, not very long, and show you how I memorize a large volume of materials using those 12 principles of recall. Okay, so sign up for it so you can watch the other ones. Thanks so much. If you like this video, thumbs up, please.